Hey Worcester, my name is Jacqueline Burmeister and I coordinate the City of Worcester Lakes and Ponds program. Today I am thrilled to share with you the results of our 2020 Water Quality Monitoring Program at Indian Lake. This video is one of 5 videos that we've created for the 2020 State of the Lakes event. If you enjoy it, I encourage you to check out the others at worcesterma.gov. At 190 acres, Indian Lake is the largest lake fully inside the city. It's located in the northern Worcester-Greendale area, where it's nestled in the Mill Brook watershed, which spans up into Holden from there. It has a lot of public access via a public boat ramp and 2 city-run beaches. It also boasts a continuous 5K loop that generally encircles the water body that makes for great walking and jogging. Indian Lake is what is known as a great pond, which means that it was naturally formed lake above 100 acres. It was made larger in the 1800s so that it could supply water to the Blackstone Canal, but then made smaller again with the building of I-190 to the north. These days, we visit it twice monthly to take samples at the inlet, outlet, and at 2 in-lake locations. This is in addition to the sampling that the Department of Public Health conducts at the 2 public beaches. These are the data that we will be reviewing today. 2020 was a hot, dry summer. Between May and mid-August, the temperature was about 3.5 degrees warmer than the historical average. During that same time, Worcester saw less than half of the average precipitation we usually receive. Of all the days that we sampled Indian Lake, it only rained significantly before one, June 29th. The warm air and lack of precipitation had an effect on the temperature of the water. On average, the surface of Indian Lake was 1.25 degrees higher than in 2019, putting it into what is considered the poor range in the height of the summer for the first time since the Lakes and Ponds program has begun monitoring. And at the bottom, the temperature was also rising at this time. So Indian Lake did get very warm in 2020. Water temperature is important because it affects the rates of chemical reactions, and many organisms live in a narrow temperature band. Specifically, warm water can hold less oxygen than cold water. On August 2nd, during the hottest part of the summer, residents reported a small fish kill along the beaches of Sears Island. Initially, there were concerns of cyanotoxins, but cyanobacteria levels were measured and found to be very low. Is it possible that the warm waters caused a drop in available oxygen for the fish? Looking at the data for the course of the summer, it seems that there is an abundance of oxygen in the water column in the open lake, as well as in the southern portion. In fact, there is more oxygen during the period of the fish kill than at other times. What could this mean? We all remember photosynthesis from biology. Plants and aquatic algae create oxygen by absorbing the sun's energy and carbon dioxide. So if you have more plants and algae, you should have more oxygen, which is what we saw. Sometimes we forget that plants also perform respiration, the opposite of photosynthesis, in which they breathe in oxygen and breathe out CO2, just like fish and other aquatic wildlife. Generally, during the day, there is still a net positive amount of oxygen in the water. However, at night, when the sun goes down and there can't be any photosynthesis, everyone is still using oxygen and none is being produced. This leads to a decreasing amount of oxygen in the water throughout the night, and on really hot nights, when there is less oxygen to begin with, it could deplete it entirely, leading to suffocation by small fish. Right now, our data suggests that this diurnal cycle may occur in Indian Lake on the hottest of days in the shallowest of water. We plan on confirming it next year by taking oxygen readings throughout the night to see if they are indeed dropping. So what does rain, or a lack thereof, mean for water quality? In an urban environment like Worcester, with lots of impervious surfaces like roads and roofs, rain will wash over these areas and bring pollutants like sediments, nutrients, and bacteria into our lakes and ponds through the stormwater system. Phosphorus is one of those nutrients. Phosphorus is an essential nutrient for life. However, when there is too much of it in our lakes, it can cause harmful algal blooms that are toxic to fish, humans, and pets, and cause the water to be murky. Previously, phosphorus has been a challenge at Indian Lake. However, we found this year, probably due to lack of rain, phosphorus levels were generally lower than what we usually measure, which is good. However, we don't think that this will be a long-term trend, and we plan on continuing to move forward with mitigation techniques like the alum dosing station, which we will talk about in a later video. Low phosphorus was good news when it came to cyanobacteria. Cyanobacteria, or blue-green algae, feed on nutrients and have the potential to cause harmful algal blooms, which can produce toxins and lead to fish kills. Previously, we had developed a monitoring and response plans for cyanobacteria at Indian Lake to ensure that there is not a chance for them to cause harms to human or the environment. We measure the cell density throughout the summer and treat the lake with an algicide if the density gets too close to the state advisory threshold. This year, much like in other locations, we didn't even get close, and there was no cyanobacteria closure at Indian Lake. With less cyanobacteria in the water, we saw an increased clarity in the lake, but that had other consequences. Usually, Indian Lake is quite murky, and not much sunlight can reach plants below. Now that the water was clear, plants were able to receive sunlight and grow more, and that's okay, unless the plants are invasive species. Invasive species are organisms that are not native to the area and have the ability to outcompete local flora and fauna, disrupting the ecosystem. Previously, we had been able to keep up with much of the invasive plant population with non-chemical methods, and in 2020, we intended to do the same. We used a two-pronged approach. In the winter, we lowered the water level of Indian Lake by 5 feet, exposing the shoreline of plants to the harsh New England cold. During the summer, we had a team of divers pluck the invasives out of the sediment, leaving the native plants behind. Unfortunately, the clear waters still cause these invasives to thrive. During an end-of-season survey, we saw an expansion of the areas that were infested with Eurasian milfoil, as well as a resurgence of a longtime invasive brittle naiad. Because of this, we are reevaluating our plan for aquatic plants at Indian Lake to include a systemic herbicide in 2021, especially as we hope to see clarity continue to increase with the construction of the alum dosing station. So if the lack of rain means the lack of pollution going into the lake, what happened to the beaches this year? Every week during the summer at Indian Lake, the Department of Public Health visits the beaches to measure E. coli, an indicator of fecal bacteria that can make you sick. If there are too many bacteria, they have to close the beach until the result gets lower. You can usually rely on Indian Lake beaches to be open. Between 2017 and 2019, Clayson Beach had no closures due to fecal bacteria. While there was 1 week of closures at Shore Park in 2019, we suspect that this was due to rain bringing bacteria from goose droppings into the water. This past year, 2020, Clayson Beach still suffered no closures, though there were 4 days of closures at Shore Park Beach, at the end of June and the beginning of July. While there was no rain, here's a snapshot of the beach during this time. We believe that goose droppings are still responsible for the closures at Shore Park Beach, and these pesky birds will be part of our management efforts in 2021, in addition to increased tracking of bacteria sampling throughout the lake. More details on this effort can be found in the following video. While nutrients and bacteria are one thing, people often wonder about the legacy of Worcester's industrial past and if there are possible contaminants that have made their way into Indian Lake. In 2019, we tested the water for almost 200 contaminants that would be associated with industry, from volatile and semi-volatile organic compounds like paint and aerosols to heavy metals, petroleum products, and pesticides. We found for the majority of these items, nothing was detected, which is great news. We did find slight traces of PFAS, or perfluoroaromatic compounds, which are found in waterproofing agents and firefighting foams. However, we did not find amounts that would be of concern, even under drinking water standards. Of the metals we found, they were all reflective of the naturally occurring metals that are found in local soils. We don't expect that these levels would have changed significantly in 2020, but we will retest in 2022. For now, we do not believe that industrial contaminants are a challenge at Indian Lake. In 2019, the Lakes and Ponds program joined forces with the local watershed associations to create an angler survey to get an idea of, amongst other things, what people are catching in our waterways. Anglers reported that Indian Lake supports some great fishing. Respondents reported catching at least 14 fish species, including largemouth bass, rock bass, and northern pike. In addition, it appears that if you're up for the challenge with a big catch, there may be some great carp fishing. So if you like fishing, you should check out Indian Lake. This all brings us to the state of the lake. We base this assessment on the average ranking of different parameters using a scale of poor to excellent, with poor meaning that ecology and recreation is severely reduced and new management is necessary, and excellent meaning that there is no perceived threat to ecology or recreational value. In Indian Lake, the water temperature was higher this year than previously, and it may have had implications on our fish populations. While the problem isn't severe as of now, we will call it fair. We will be taking steps to more closely monitor the situation by performing oxygen readings during the nighttime. When it comes to cyanobacteria, clarity, and nutrient concerns, Indian Lake performed better than usual in 2020. There were no closures due to cyanobacteria, and lake clarity and phosphorus levels were improved as well. We rated this as good because we think that improvements were driven by the dry weather and may not be assumed for 2021, although the construction of the alum dosing station should help reduce this risk. This increased clarity may have contributed to the far more aggressive invasive aquatic plants this past year, and Indian Lake rates as fair for weeds in 2020. In response, we are updating our management plan to include herbicides to make sure that the problem does not continue to grow. Indian Lake has an excellent rating when it comes to industrial contaminants, as none were found in levels known to be harmful to humans. We will be retesting these in 2022. Unfortunately, we had a few closures at Shore Park Beach due to fecal bacteria this year. In order to combat this, the Lakes and Ponds program is teaming up with the Parks Department to start a new pilot project that keeps geese off the beach. While we assume this to be the source of the problem, we are also developing a tool to track bacteria sampling across the city. We will talk more about these projects in a separate video. Overall, the state of Indian Lake in 2020 was good. Threats are being managed, and hopefully with our 2021 projects, water quality will continue to improve. Thank you so much for joining us for this summary of the results of our water quality monitoring program at Indian Lake. For more detailed information on the results, please see our water quality reports located on our website. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to check out the other videos in the 2020 State of the Lake series and learn about the initiatives and projects that the city and the community are doing to keep our blue spaces beautiful.